My boyfriend cheated with his best friend's sister while being engaged with me. The night he proposed was perfect roses, candles, my favorite Taylor Swift song playing softly. 6 months later, I accidentally synced his old iPad and found the messages. He was texting her during our engagement dinner, telling her I'd say yes like an idiot. But neither of them expected what I would do next. I still can't believe I'm writing this. I've started and deleted this story at least 10 times, because no matter how I try to explain it, it always sounds insane. But I swear on every bridesmaid dress I'll never wear again, this actually happened. 6 months ago, my boyfriend of 3 years, Aiden, proposed to me during what I genuinely thought was the most romantic night of my life. He recreated our first date. Same Italian rooftop restaurant, same wine, even the same awful jazz playlist we laughed about back then. There were rose petals on the table, soft fairy lights overhead, and when I stood up to get my jacket, he was suddenly on one knee. My favorite Taylor Swift song, Lover, of course started playing, and I felt like I was in a movie. I said yes. I sobbed yes. Then, we called our families, shared pictures, posted the announcement on Instagram with the caption "Forever Starts Now," and went home to drink champagne in our tiny apartment kitchen until we passed out on the couch. But forever started unraveling fast. The beginning of the end? A stupid, forgotten iPad. It was Aiden's old one. I found it while deep cleaning our apartment, dusty and dead in the back of our TV cabinet. I figured I'd reset it and use it for recipes or Pinterest wedding boards, so I charged it up and logged in using the only passcode he's ever used, his dog's name and our anniversary. It worked, and then it synced. All his texts, all his photos, all his emails. At first it was innocent group chats with his family, silly TikToks he'd sent to coworkers. Then I saw her name, Harper, Aiden's best friend's little sister. The girl who crashed our NYE party last year in a silver dress and got way too drunk on Prosecco. The one who always left heart emojis on his posts and called him troublemaker in the comments. I never liked her, but I never had a reason not to trust him either. Until I opened the thread. The first thing I saw? Aiden. She's smiling so hard right now. LMAO. This is too easy. Sent at 7:42 p.m. The same moment I said yes. My stomach dropped. I scrolled. There were weeks, months of messages. Flirty ones, secret ones. Ones that made me feel like my entire relationship had been a carefully rehearsed lie. Harper. Bet she cried. Aiden. Of course. She thinks this is real. I sat there, staring at that screen, feeling like someone had opened up my chest and ripped everything out, one artery at a time. My ring still on my finger suddenly felt like a trap, but here's the thing. The wedding is in 4 weeks. And Harper? Yeah, she's coming to my bachelorette weekend. Because she's Aiden's sister's best friend. I don't remember how long I sat there with that iPad in my lap, but when I finally looked up, the sun had gone down. And the room was dark except for the blue glow of the screen, like it was casting a spotlight on my stupidity. I kept scrolling, even though it felt like self-harm. Harper, so when are you finally going to dump her? Aiden, relax. Once her parents finish paying for the venue, it'll happen. Timing is everything. I couldn't breathe. Not only was he mocking me, he was using me. My parents, especially my mom, had gone all in on this wedding. My dad even dipped into his emergency savings for the venue deposit. And now I was realizing Aiden never planned to actually marry me. I was the free luxury wedding experience, a means to an end. What was the end though? Harper? Aiden's been friends with her family for years, so of course it wouldn't be weird if she was at our wedding. She was even invited to the bridal shower, and I distinctly remember her handing me a gift bag with a smirk and saying, "Hope it's not too small for you," like it was a joke. It was underclothing. One size too small. I thought she was just being edgy. Now I know she was marking her territory. That night, Aiden came home from work like nothing was wrong. He walked into the kitchen, kissed my forehead, opened the fridge, and asked, "You want Thai or pizza tonight?" I stared at him like I was watching a horror movie in slow motion. He had no clue I knew. His voice, his movements, the little forehead kiss, everything felt like a script. And I'd spent the last 3 years memorizing my lines, without ever realizing I was in a show called Fake Fiancé. I said pizza's fine and walked into the bathroom before I could scream. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to him next to that and tried to keep my breathing steady, while his hand rested across my hip like it always did. His betrayal wasn't just physical or emotional. It was logistical, strategic, intentional. And what's worse, Harper texted him again the next morning. "Harper, still playing house? Can't wait to watch her lose it in Vegas." Vegas. That's where my bachelorette weekend is happening. With her. I wanted to confront him. To scream. To throw the iPad at his stupid, smug face and tell him I knew everything. But something in me snapped that night, not from weakness, but from something deeper. Something sharper. I don't want revenge. I want clarity. I want everyone in our lives, their families, our friends, the wedding guests, to see who they really are. And Vegas? Oh, honey, Vegas is where the curtain's gonna rise. Because if Harper thinks she's going to humiliate me in some glittery club surrounded by cocktails and Instagram captions, she has no idea what's coming. I started planning my version of the bachelorette trip before I even booked the flights. Because if I was gonna walk into Vegas with a snake in stilettos breathing down my neck, I wasn't just gonna survive, I was gonna document everything. Collect every slip-up, every sideways glance, every whispered bathroom conversation like receipts on a clipboard. I didn't tell anyone what I knew yet. Not even my best friend, Marissa, who's been my rock since high school and was literally the first person I called when I got engaged. I needed to wait until I had everything. Because the moment I spoke it out loud, I knew there would be no going back. I started small. First, I backed up everything on that iPad, screenshots of the texts, saved videos, even their stupid little selfies that they thought were deleted. I emailed it all to myself under a burner account with the subject line, in case I ever forget who he is. Then I started watching Aiden closely. And the more I looked, the more I saw it. The little eye rolls when I talked about wedding plans. The way he used the word budget like it was a threat every time I brought up something I wanted. How he smiled at me, like a man trying to sell a lie he hadn't fully rehearsed. And Harper? She was suddenly so involved. She joined the bridesmaids group chat even though she's technically not a bridesmaid. Started posting TikToks about girls supporting girls and tagging me in them, like we were besties. Sent over spa ideas for Vegas, club recommendations, even volunteered to handle the Saturday night dinner, which, for the record, was the exact night I had been planning my surprise. A very, very public one. Meanwhile, Aiden had the audacity to start acting extra loving, bringing me coffee in bed, rubbing my shoulders when I said I was stressed, saying things like, "I can't wait to marry you," while avoiding eye contact. He must have felt me pulling away even if I didn't say a word. But here's the wildest part. 3 days before the trip, I caught him on the phone late at night. I only overheard a sliver from the hallway while brushing my teeth, but it was enough. No, it's fine. She doesn't suspect anything. Trust me, she's obsessed with the wedding crap, she's not going anywhere. I didn't confront him. I just brushed my teeth a little slower and made a note in my phone. Thursday night, 11:42 p.m. He lied to her about me. Then I texted Marissa, "Need your help this weekend. Something big. I'll explain in Vegas. Just trust me." She replied instantly, "Ride or die. Pack your best revenge dress." Let's just say I did. And when we touched down in Vegas 2 days later, I wasn't the bride to be everyone expected. I was the girl who came to ruin the illusion. The second Harper stepped into the Vegas suite, she made herself at home like she was auditioning for a reality show no one asked for. "OMG, this place is Vibez," she said, twirling in her skin-tight rhinestone dress that looked like it was legally required to come with drama. "Hope no one's planning to sleep this weekend. We're going hard." She shot me a wink like we were in on some private joke. We weren't. I forced a smile and handed her a mimosa, mostly to keep her mouth busy. She took a sip and said, "To the hottest bride ever, and the hottest wedding this city's ever seen." The girls cheered. Harper grinned like the cat who'd eaten an entire zoo. I watched her all day. She clung to me in photos, sat next to me at brunch, and made a big show of tagging me in her stories, like she wanted people to know we were tight. At first, I thought she was doing damage control, trying to get ahead of something she knew was unraveling. But then I caught her staring at Aiden's contact on her phone more than once, her thumbs hovering like she wanted to text him, but was waiting for me to leave the room. She was playing it cool. What she didn't know, I had Marissa playing smarter. While Harper was busy getting her spray tan touched up, I handed Marissa a burner phone I'd set up days earlier. It had everything loaded. The texts, the timestamps, the selfies, even the video from the iPad where Aiden jokingly said, "I'll propose with that cheesy rooftop dinner." She's a sucker for that stuff. Marissa scrolled through it once and went silent. Then she looked at me and said, "Girl, this is a Lifetime movie, but we're rewriting the ending." I told her the plan. It was simple. Saturday night, Harper would host the big dinner at the rooftop lounge she'd insisted on planning. Everyone would be there, my bridesmaids, my sister, even Aiden's sister Emily, who had flown in just for the night. What Harper didn't know, Marissa had slipped the burner phone into her purse earlier in the afternoon. Right before we left the suite, I casually said, "Hey, can you check your bag? I think you might have grabbed my phone by accident." She reached in, confused, and pulled out the device. The screen lit up. The last message visible on the home screen: "Aiden, can't wait to finally be done with this." Her face drained. And that, my friend, is when the first domino fell. She locked eyes with me, and for the first time since I met her, she wasn't smiling. "You went through his phone?" she hissed. I leaned in, voice low and deadly calm. "No, sweetie. I went through his soul." Before she could respond, Marissa clinked her glass at the head of the table. "Let's raise a toast," she said. "To brides who know their worth, and to secrets that never stay buried for long." The tension snapped like an elastic band. Harper stood up. "You're such a psycho. And you're a placeholder," I said calmly. "Congrats on being the side character in my story." She left before dessert, and that was before the real storm hit, because Aiden had no idea what I had planned for him. Harper left the dinner so fast she nearly knocked over the server carrying creme brulee. She didn't even grab her clutch. Honestly, it was kind of poetic, the girl who tried to play the main character storming out in a tantrum while everyone else was raising glasses to me. But the night wasn't about her. Not really. It was about Aiden, and how I was about to burn his fairy tale fantasy to the ground in front of his entire family. Because what do you do when your fiancé uses your parents' money, your love, and your dream wedding as a stepping stone for his ego? You ruin his illusion with facts. The next morning, I pretended like nothing was wrong. I posted brunch pics with the girls, added a boomerang of my mimosa clink to my story, even tagged Harper and wrote, "Last night was wild." She didn't repost. I bet she was too busy trying to get Aiden to answer her calls because my last move of the night was blocking her number on his phone while he slept beside me like a smug little liar. Back home, I waited. I needed the perfect moment, and that moment came exactly 1 week later, at our engagement party. It was hosted by Aiden's parents' huge backyard. Fairy lights, catered food, the works. Aiden was glowing. He thought Vegas had gone amazing, thought I was radiating happiness, thought he'd gotten away with it. He was right about one thing: I was glowing. Because I had everything. I'd printed out screenshots of his texts with Harper and pasted them inside the guest book like a scrapbook. Right after the leave a message for the bride and groom page, there it was. "She's so easy to manipulate, LOL. Just gotta get through this wedding and the money is mine." I proposed with the cheesiest line, and she cried like a Hallmark movie, decorated with glitter stickers. I mean, if I'm going to expose a villain, might as well make it aesthetic. And just before dessert, I asked for the mic. "I just wanted to thank everyone for being here," I said, smiling sweetly. It means so much to have people who love and support us, especially when the truth is so hard to come by. I could feel Aiden shift beside me. Then I said, "Since we're all here to celebrate love, I thought it would be a great time to show you what love really looks like." Marissa, MVP of the year, hit play on the projector. The screen lit up with a screenshot montage, every message, every lie, every time-stamped betrayal. The last image? A selfie of Harper in Aiden's hoodie, flipping off the camera. Aiden turned pale. Gasps echoed through the backyard. His mom dropped her champagne. His dad muttered, "Jesus Christ." And me? I just set the mic down and walked off the patio. Not a word. Not a tear. Because I wasn't the heartbroken fiancé anymore. I was the girl who finally realized her worth and left the man who didn't. But this story's not over yet. Because what I found after the party made everything before it look like a warm-up. So here's the thing. After I exposed Aiden at our engagement party in front of everyone, friends, family, neighbors, his pastor uncle, who I'm 99, sure whispered, "Lord have mercy." I thought I was done. Game over. Mic drop. Villain defeated. Right? Wrong. Because the next morning, I woke up to 5 missed calls from Aiden, 3 texts that said, "Please, it's not what you think," and 1 message from a random number that just said, "Check the ring." At first, I thought it was spam. But something about it made my stomach twist, the kind of twist you feel right before everything falls apart again. I grabbed the ring box from my dresser, sat on the edge of the bed, and held the diamond up to the light. It looked fine, sparkly, pretty. But then I remembered something Aiden had said the night he proposed. "It's real. I saved for this." That little word, "saved," suddenly rang in my ears like a warning bell. Because Aiden never saved for anything. I mean, this is the guy who once Venmo requested me $8.72 for Taco Bell. So I took the ring to a jeweler. The woman behind the counter barely looked at it before saying, "Oh honey, this isn't a diamond." My heart dropped. It's moissanite, lab grown, pretty common, looks real to the untrained eye, but worth maybe 100, tops. I just stared at it. This man, who used my parents' money, cheated on me, lied to my face, couldn't even give me a real ring. And not because of money, not because of love, but because he knew I wouldn't check, because he thought I wouldn't dare question anything he gave me. And for a long time, he was right. I left the jewelry store, got in my car, and cried the ugliest cry of my life. Not because of the ring, not even because of him, but because I realized I had spent years loving someone who saw my trust as a convenience, not a privilege. I was easy to lie to, because I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Never. Again. Later that night, I called his sister Emily, the only decent one in that family, and told her everything. The iPad, the texts, the ring, Harper, the guest book, scrapbook. All of it. She went completely silent. Then she said, "I'm so sorry. I think you should know. Harper isn't just his side piece. She's his ex." Apparently, they dated before Aiden and I met. They were off and on for years. Harper always lingered in the background. and he told everyone she was too messy to be serious with. But he never let her go. And now, Emily said there were rumors he planned to break things off with me after the wedding, collect whatever cash gifts or honeymoon upgrades he could, and then move in with Harper just for a few months to get on his feet. So basically, the proposal, the wedding, the fairy tale, it was a hustle, a long con, but he didn't account for me growing a spine. He didn't count on the girl who cried on the couch after reading those texts, turning into the girl who turned his entire engagement party into a courtroom drama. And now that I knew the whole truth, I wasn't just walking away. After the whole ring disaster, I went home, took off the fake diamond, and dropped it into a mason jar labeled Delusional Men Fund. It now lives next to my wine rack and gets frequent donations. I was done crying. I was done replaying every lie like some kind of internal horror movie. And I was done letting Aiden control the narrative. Because here's the thing about people like him, they don't just lie. They rewrite reality. And if you don't speak up, the version they tell becomes the one people believe. Turns out, Aiden had told people I was too dramatic, that I pressured him into the wedding, that my parents were footing the bill because I was spoiled and entitled. Meanwhile, I had the receipts proving he begged for upgrades on the venue, asked for a more expensive honeymoon, and used my mom's bridal boutique connections to get a custom tux, then told Harper it was just for the photos. So I posted a very calm TikTok, black screen, white text, soft piano music, captioned, "What happens when you find out your fiancé was texting his ex the night he proposed? Here's what I wish I knew sooner." 10 slides, no names, just truths. And by slide 6, people were already commenting, "Run in, girl, this is a movie." By morning, it had 240K views. And in my DMs, 3 women from Aiden's past relationships. One said, "He cheated on me with a girl named H." Guessing that's Harper? Another said, "I saw your video and realized he used the same proposal line on me. Same restaurant too. Same freaking restaurant. This man wasn't just a cheater. He was a recycler." At this point, I was equal parts horrified and weirdly impressed. Like, how long had he been running this con? Was he planning to keep bouncing from woman to woman, proposal to proposal, like some kind of emotionally manipulative timeshare salesman? Regardless, I had enough evidence now to fill a memoir. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted release. I wanted freedom. And more than anything, I wanted to give myself the closure he would never, ever be capable of offering. So I wrote Aiden one final message. Not a novel, not a sob story. Just this: thanks for the fake ring, the fake promises, and the real lesson. You showed me exactly who I never want to marry. Consider yourself blocked. Forever. Then I blocked him on everything. Phone, social, email, Venmo, even Pinterest. Yes, I'm petty. And the best part? I used that honeymoon reservation we couldn't cancel and changed the name on the guest list. Guess who's joining me in Bora Bora next week? Marissa. And yes, we'll be posting pictures. And yes, there will be captions like bride vibes, no groom needed. Bora Bora was supposed to be our beginning. I used to daydream about it, me in a white cover-up, him in those awful palm tree swim trunks he loved, our feet in the sand, planning our future while sipping overpriced pina coladas. Instead, it was me and Marissa, 2 women, 1 overbooked resort, and 0 regrets. And honestly, it was perfect. The moment we stepped off that tiny little boat and walked into the overwater bungalow, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks. No more texts, no more ring, no more performing happiness just so people would stop asking questions. It was just us, the ocean, and the kind of silence that heals instead of haunts. Marissa brought the drama in the form of champagne and a just-divorced sash she bought as a joke, but I wore it anyway because why not? And me? I brought the closure, not by forcing it, but by letting it come naturally. We spent days sunbathing, swimming, laughing so hard my stomach hurt, and talking about everything but Aiden. And at night, we talked about what was next. That's when I realized something important. I hadn't just lost a fiancé, I'd lost myself somewhere along the way. I used to be spontaneous, bold, the kind of girl who dyed her hair on a random Tuesday and booked trips because she liked the hotel wallpaper. But with Aiden, I'd started shrinking bit by bit, compromise by compromise. My world had become smaller to make room for his. He didn't demand it, he just expected it. And I let it happen. But now I was reclaiming space. One night, after way too many cocktails and the most ridiculous couples massage you could imagine, Marissa flirted with her masseuse, obviously. We sat out on the deck, watching the stars. I scrolled through my phone and found a video I'd taken the night he proposed. I was smiling, crying, giddy, and he was barely in it, literally. You could see him half turned away, checking something on his phone. I stared at that video for a long time. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. Not anymore. That version of me, she was in love with an idea, with a performance, with someone who knew how to make her feel chosen without ever truly choosing her. That girl was gone. The next morning I posted one photo. Just me, standing in front of the water, wind in my hair, wearing the white dress I was going to wear to our rehearsal dinner. Caption? Turns out, I look even better without the groom. Self-love honeymoon for two. Within an hour, my inbox blew up. Support. Shock. A few messages from women asking if it was about Aiden. It was. And then one from someone I didn't expect. Harper. You win. He's a liar. I'm sorry. That message didn't satisfy me the way I thought it would, because it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't playing her game. Or his. I was writing my own ending. We were halfway through day 4 in Bora Bora when I got the call. I almost didn't answer, because let's be real, the only things I wanted to deal with were sunscreen reapplication and whether I wanted fish tacos or the tropical salad for lunch. But something made me swipe. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure, maybe chaos. It's always a little bit of all three with me. Hello? Silence for a beat. Then his voice. Hey, it's Aiden. I almost laughed. Of course it was. Of course he found a way around the block list. Of course he waited until I was finally starting to feel okay again. What do you want, Aiden? I asked, keeping my tone flat. Calm. He didn't deserve emotion from me anymore. Not rage, not sadness, not tears. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. For everything. I let the silence hang for a second, just to make him squirm. And because, deep down, I wanted to hear it even if it didn't fix anything. I saw the post, he continued. You looked happy. Better, actually. I guess I just thought, maybe I should have been honest, from the start. I rolled my eyes so hard, I almost pulled a muscle. You think? He sighed. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I got scared. I thought I loved you, I did. Harper was always there, and I was stupid and selfish, and I didn't know how to back out without hurting you. Newsflash. I snapped. You did hurt me, just in the most cowardly, humiliating way possible. I know, he said, voice small. I know. I hope one day you'll forgive me. I paused. Because here's the truth. I hadn't even admitted to myself until that moment. I already had. Not for him. Not to give him peace, but for me. Because holding on to all that pain, that betrayal, it was heavy. Too heavy. And I was finally free of it. So I said the only thing I could. I don't forgive you because you deserve it. I forgive you because I do. And then, without waiting for a reply, I hung up. Marissa walked out onto the deck right then, wearing a giant sun hat and holding 2 coconut drinks like we were in a rom-com. Was that him? She asked, already bracing herself for my reaction. I nodded. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's not part of the story anymore. She grinned and handed me my drink. Damn right he's not. But just as we toasted and sat down to soak in our last sunset, my phone buzzed again. ADM. From someone I never, ever expected. Aiden's mom. Hi, sweetheart. I know this is awkward, but I think there's something you need to know, and I can't keep it to myself anymore. I froze. I didn't know what to expect. I tapped. I know it's not my place, and you have every right to hate him, and us, but I've been holding something in and I need you to hear it. Then she dropped the bomb. Harper wasn't just his ex. She was engaged to his brother 2 years ago. It ended badly. We tried to keep her away from Aiden after that, but she always had this strange hold on him, like she wanted revenge, or something to prove. I think this was about more than just him. I think she wanted to hurt you. I blinked at the screen. Engaged to his brother. What kind of twisted suburban soap opera was this? I should have warned you. I should have said something when I noticed she was showing up again, but I didn't want to interfere. And now I see how much pain that caused you. I'm so sorry. My heart was thudding, not just because of what she said, but because of what it meant. This wasn't just about Aiden being a garbage fiancé. This was Harper's game too. She targeted me, wormed her way into the bridal party, sat next to me while I opened gifts and laughed at my Pinterest boards, all while secretly reliving the same exact wedding she never got to have. She used Aiden to reenact her fantasy, and he used me to make it feel real. God, I'd been their props. And the worst part? I almost married into a family where secrets like that could rot under the floorboards, while everyone smiled over charcuterie boards and said things like, "We're just so happy for you." I sent a short reply. "Thank you for telling me. I wish you had sooner, but I'm glad I know now." Then I closed the app, set my phone face down, and just stared out at the ocean. I felt sick. I felt angry. But most of all, I felt clear. This wasn't my fault, not my insecurity, not my mistake. This was a web of broken people trying to fill the cracks with manipulation and attention and whatever version of love they thought they deserved. And I was finally out of it.